You're lucky because you live in an age of unmatched opportunity for anyone with enough hustle, patience, and big dreams. I should know, since that's what I had to work with. 3 years ago, I was an anomaly, a guy with very limited technology skills, very limited, who used social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr to build a highly fulfilling and profitable personal brand. Back then, a lot of people were unwilling to accept that the business world and society was changing. And if I had tried to tell you that you could build a business that creates wealth and the most happiness you've ever known with nothing more than passion and a willingness to work your face off, you might have not believed me. Now though, the opportunities are endless. I don't think enough people have yet grasped just how much society and business and even the internet has changed. And my story is about to become a lot less unusual. If you want it badly enough, it can become your story in a lot less time and for a lot less money. Here's how fast change has taken hold. I helped take my dad's liquor store, Shoppers Discount Liquors, and blew it up from a $4 million to a $50 million a year business in 8 years, from 98 to 2005. I'm proud of that. But aside from a ton of hard work, it took millions of dollars in advertising with the New York Times, Wine Spectator, and other publications, as well as radio stations and local TV. Compare that with when I started building my personal brand back in 2006. To this day, it's cost me a far less amount of money. Let's say less than 15 grand. But it's cost me a lot of sweat, and I'm having more fun than I've ever had in my entire life. You've got sweat, right? You may not have the connections or the wealth or even the education, but with enough passion and enough sweat, you can make a lot happen. 3 rules. Well, the secret is that I live by 3 pretty darn simple rules. Number 1, and by far number 1. By the way, this should probably be number 1, 2, 3, and 4. But number 1, love your family. Number 2, work super hard. And number 3, live your passion. That's it. Notice that I didn't mention the internet, social media, or even technology, even though they have been crucial to everything I've accomplished in the last few years. That's because I measure my success by how happy I am, not by how big my business is or how much money I've made. And thanks to following these 3 rules, I am 100% happy. Don't believe me? Think it's not possible? I promise you it is. If you don't already live the first principle, get on it now. Your family always comes first. But if you've got that priority straight and you're working super hard and you're still not 100% happy, it's probably because you're not living your passion. And that, my friends, although is only 1/3 of the secret to success, is the whole key to staking your claim in the new business world we all live by today. Live your passion. What does that mean anyway? It means that when you get up for work every morning, every single morning, you are pumped because you get to talk about or work with or do the thing that interests you most in the world. You don't live for vacations because you don't need a break from what you're doing. Working, playing, and relaxing are one and the same. You don't even pay attention to how many hours you're working because to you, it's not really work. You're making money, but you do whatever it is you're doing for free. Does this sound like you? Are you living or just earning a living? You spend so much time at work. Why waste it doing anything other than what you love most? Life is too short for that. You owe it to yourself to make a massive change for the better. And all you have to do is go online and start using the tools waiting for you there. That sounds all la la la, life is zen, everything will work out. And I'm not naive. I really respect and understand that not everybody's going to go out and crush it. But the fact that you have an at-bat, the fact that you have an opportunity to go out and do this and do it around what you love is super important. And I hope that the bigger issue here is not overlooked because that sounds so fantasy-like, because it's shifting and the opportunity is real. Social media give entrepreneurs and businesses an unprecedented chance to engage with their customers and communicate their message. Those who can harness their passion to the unbelievable reach and power of these tools are in a position to crush it on a level the world has never seen. The game has changed, my friends. Everyone knows the internet represents one of the biggest cultural shifts since the printing press. But I think society has been slow to recognize that it represents the biggest shift in history in how we do business, like ever. It's matured from a haven for coding geeks to a second home for most Americans, who still spend countless hours shopping online, but who are also increasingly moving their social lives there thanks to networking sites like Facebook, YouTube, Flickr, Tumblr, and Twitter. It makes total sense that if this is where the eyeballs are going, this is where business has to go. Money goes where the people go. Where there is an audience, advertisers are eager to follow. They used to spend their money on traditional media, radio, television, newspapers, and magazines. Those platforms are losing eyeballs to the online world by the second, and many media companies never implemented the leaner, meaner business model they needed to stay alive. They're getting very close to being dead. If the survivors in the traditional media don't adjust to the new competitor, 30 years from now, our kids will examine them in museums with the same curiosity they now reserve for dinosaur bones and fossils. I'm talking about things I'm living and breathing, not just things I'm hoping will happen. So it's important that you guys understand that. Advertisers and companies need to spend money to stay alive. So why shouldn't they spend it on you? By building a personal brand using social media networks, you're practically doing them a favor. Since the only investment it takes to use these sites to grow a business is ridiculous amounts of time and hustle, these platforms are open to whoever has got the chops to get in the game. That's you, right? No excuses. But Gary, some of you might be saying, my passion isn't something cool and retail friendly like wine. I'm into World of Warcraft. I'm obsessed with belly dancing. I regularly piss off my wife because I'd rather hole up in the basement with my friends playing cards than do anything else. I want to build a business, but there's no money to be made in that. Plus, I've got rent and mortgage, kids and elderly parents, student loans, and car payments. Yeah, well, so did Perez Hilton, and Zay Frank, and Veronica Belmont, and Heather Cox, and Jessica Morgan. They totally crushed it. And you can too. Do it now. You know, the fact of the matter is, you can say that you've got all these hurdles, but so does everybody. Nobody's got it easy coast to coast. Even the people that are rolling like P. Diddy and the trust fund babies, you know, they've got the money and the opportunity, but you know, they've got the psychological hurdles that mommy and daddy gave it to them. Trust me, there is nobody who's got clear sailing. The important thing to understand is how these platforms are now free, and you can do that at any time. You can do it at 3 o'clock in the morning if you want it bad enough. So please, 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 please stop putting barriers around yourself, because it's bullcrap and nobody wants to hear it. If you want it bad enough, let's get into it. But Gary, someone else might say, have you kept up with the news over the past few years? The economy has taken a beating. A lot of people have lost jobs, consumers are not spending like they once did, and advertisers are far more conservative than they used to be. You know, you may even want to pull over your car right now, because this is a big one. It is never a bad time to start a business unless you're starting a mediocre business. I'm going to say it one more time. It's never a bad time. Guys, Microsoft was built during the Carter, transition years to Reagan. It is never a bad time to start a business unless you're starting a mediocre business. I think economic downturns represent a huge opportunity for everyone to get their focus on and to start to crush it. The person who can dominate during rough times is the person who can dominate, period. Yes, we've seen a lot of people close up shop in the past years, but if they had offered a relevant and differentiated product or service, had they been adaptable, and most of all, had they know how to tell their story, and even more importantly than that, and I'm going off the script again, but that's how I roll, if they cared for their consumer and gave the proper customer service, they would have not had to close. I know that's an unpopular thing to say, but I think once you listen further and understand how our culture has changed and what the next generation, whether entrepreneurs or not, needs to do to make its mark, you'll agree with me. Booming economies like the one that recently ended keep all kinds of businesses afloat that should have sunk a long time ago. Once the winds shift, there's only room left for the best. What kind of business did you plan on starting? A mediocre one? Or one that kicks ass? You know the right answer.